I believe I'm worthy of receiving love if I've earned it, you know.
Yeah.
But do I believe I'm worthy of receiving love? End of question. And then that really kind of takes us to grace, you know.
Yeah.
Am I trying to earn grace? Am I trying to earn that love from God?
Welcome to More Than Small Talk. We're Susie Eller,
Jennifer Watson,
and Holly Girth, writers and real life friends. We're inviting you to go deeper, become freer, and feel more connected.
So imagine you have a cup of coffee, a mug of tea, or a green smoothie in your hand,
and we're all hanging out in your favorite place together.
Hey, More Than Small Talk friends. We're excited to have a special guest with us this week. We are being joined by Maisie Robinson, who is a counselor in Atlanta, and she specializes in helping women discover their true voice as they navigate self-worth and self-esteem challenges, relationship concerns, and life stage transitions. She's also created some online courses, which we will tell you about in just a bit. But we have been talking, last week we talked about why self-care isn't selfish, and September is actually self-care month. So we are on the last day of it, but you still have a chance. Go out and practice that. But I think an aspect of self-care, perhaps what makes self-care challenging often for us, is that it's hard for us to receive. Specifically, it's hard for us sometimes as women to receive love. And so we've invited Maisie on to have a conversation to help us with that. So welcome, Maisie. We're so glad you're here with us.
Oh, thank you for having me. I am thrilled to be here.
Yeah.
I'm just super excited to chat.
Maisie, we always start with a confession question, and usually we all answer, but today we're just going to throw this question to you. And
Great.
This is our confession question is, why is it so hard for us, and especially for women, to receive love?
That is a great question. And isn't it just the most counterintuitive thing? And it is such a struggle for us to receive love. But I think every single one of us, we're wired for love. We are wired to love and be loved. But I think it is so, so true that for many women, actually receiving love is a bit of a challenge. And I think there are many reasons for that. And of course, everyone has their own story. But at the top of the list, love is very vulnerable.
Yeah.
And so love is very exposing, letting someone into your story, into your quirks, into your needs, into your wants, your likes and dislikes. Love is very vulnerable. And if we have been hurt in the past, it is very natural that we put up those walls and we keep people at arm's length to self-protect. And so letting love in can feel very scary. It can feel very much out of our comfort zone where I'm just going to control everything and I can control you and what you know about me and what you say about me and what you do to me if I keep you at arm's length. I think also for a lot of women, we can confuse receiving and earning love. I will feel very comfortable if you bring me a casserole when I'm in the hospital. If I brought you a casserole when you were in the hospital, right?
Yeah.
But if you just bring me something and I haven't done anything to earn it or deserve it, for a lot of us that can feel very unsettling. And I got to pay her back, right? Or I just feel so uncomfortable accepting this. I haven't done anything to earn it. So I think we get that confused with the earning and the receiving, and we are comfortable receiving if we have earned, and that can be very much a slippery slope for us. But I really think at the top of the list of why it can be hard to receive love for us as women is because traditionally and historically, we've been raised to be caregivers. We've been raised to be the ones to love, to engage in the action of love and to take care of people and to anticipate their needs. And so we're very comfortable in that position. And we're very comfortable anticipating people's needs. We're very comfortable making people feel loved because this is just always how we, again, traditionally and historically, how we have been raised. And so then to be on that receiving end, it, like we said, it can feel uncomfortable. And it can also be what goes along with that is that we can convince ourselves of this lie that if I am the care receiver, then I'm being high maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Wow.
And I'm not being a good caregiver. I'm not being a loving woman if I have needs and I'm needing something from other people. And so one of the things I often see with my clients is that we really glorify this being a low maintenance woman. Oh, I'm easy breezy. I'm go with the flow. Oh, you want to eat at Chili's? That's fine. Inside, I hate Chili's. Right? Right? And so we really glorify being that the low need, low maintenance, go with the flow. But the danger in that is that then no one ever knows us. They don't know that we don't like Chili's. And that's a significant thing to know about somebody. They don't know what our needs are, what our likes are, what we value, what's a priority in our life if we're always wanting to take care of other people and not letting other people meet our needs and come alongside us and receive us. And then the really dark side of struggling to receive love is that we become resentful. Eventually all of the pouring out that we do in our caretaking, we will eventually hit a bit of a wall and we become resentful because we feel like, wow, I'm doing all this for you. And what am I getting in return? And where I often challenge my clients is, well, do you let them in? Are you letting them know what your needs are?
Yeah.
Are you letting them know what you would like out of the relationship? And so it can become quite a sticky situation.
Yeah, that's so good, Maisie. Like you just shared so much wisdom. I'm going to have to go back and listen to that about 10 times. That was awesome. Thank you for all of that.
Yeah, I was taking notes.
Yeah.
And I think that one thing that kind of just threads through all of that, there's a fear of rejection.
Yes. If I need too much, then I'll be too much and you won't want to love me. You won't want to be in relationship with me. Absolutely.
Yeah. If I'm too quirky, you're going to head the other way. Or if I'm too vulnerable, you're going to take advantage. There's other sides to, like I'm over here taking notes like crazy. So, So why do you think we confuse earning and receiving? I mean, is there a core to that?
Well, how I see it, we confuse earning and receiving because, in my opinion, it comes down to a control issue.
Okay.
See, if I have earned love, if I have done for you, if I have served you, if I've taken care of you, if I've fixed your problems, solved the issues in your life and come alongside you, then you're going to have to love me. I mean, why would you not love me? I've done all this stuff for you, And so I think it comes down to a control issue. And Susie, like you were saying about not being rejected, if I have taken care of you and loved you well, then you for sure wouldn't reject me. Why would you reject me? And so I think it's our way of controlling our relationships and controlling not being abandoned, not being rejected.
Yeah.
And when we just receive free love, someone doing something for us because they want to, or whatever, free love may and air quotes listeners may look like in your life. Part of why it feels so unsettling is because it feels out of our control. Again, I didn't earn this, and so I don't know if I deserve this. And if you really want to go 17 layers down into this, where we will definitely hit on for all of us is it's a worth issue. Do I believe I'm worthy of love? Do I believe that I'm worthy of receiving love? I believe I'm worthy of receiving love if I've earned it,
Yeah.
But do I believe I'm worthy of receiving love? End of question. And then that really kind of takes us to grace,
Yeah.
Am I trying to earn grace? Am I trying to earn that love from God? So, I think that worth issue is the deeper one, but a few layers up it's control. It's our way of being in control.
Jennifer, I see you nodding a lot.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I wrote down. I was like, receiving versus earning. And then I was like, but I feel like we try to earn because we don't feel like we're worthy. So I feel like we're always proving ourselves.
Yeah.
And so we're putting all of this pressure to earn it, to be worthy of it. And then I think that kind of puts a barrier in our relationships, because it goes back to that root of I'm not enough. I'm not worthy of love. I haven't done enough. To be loved means I need to not be high maintenance, to not be needy. All of those things are really, it's out of our reach, but that's the pressure that we put on ourselves. And I feel like I lived that for a really long time. And I still go there. That default moment is, to receive love, I need to earn it, and it's like I'm keeping score when probably other people aren't at all.
Yeah.
So what do we do about that?
I think all of that is so well said. And yes, that's really the slippery slope. What you said there at the end of the keeping score is that when this gets away from us, the loving others in order to be loved, the dark side of that is we start scorekeeping, and that leads to the resentment, which resentment is so corrosive to a relationship. It is such a barrier to genuine connection in a relationship. But then also, just to piggyback on that aspect of what you were saying about it, it's a barrier. It absolutely is, because it really ends up being a mask that people don't get to know the real us.
Yeah. So if we don't believe we're worthy of love, what do we settle for instead of love?
Wow. That is a great question, Holly. I mean, that is a great question. I think what we settle for is performing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna perform for love and approval, because we're wired for love and approval. So we're gonna get that however we can. But rather than, sitting in the freedom of grace and I'm gonna receive it, I think we tap dance for it and we perform for it, and we overfunction in our relationships. We take responsibility for things that aren't our responsibility. We ignore things in relationships, unhealthy things that don't need to be ignored. We tolerate things that should not be tolerated. We end up performing for love to try to keep love and prove that we are worthy of that love.
Yeah.
But it ends up not being very healthy love.
Yeah. And that's a great, you just gave us kind of a checklist of watch for these warning signs. Like if you are, performing, and that's really helpful.
I recently heard, and that it's just been kind of going over in my mind over the past few months of kind of looking back, is that love isn't transactional. And I think that everything that you said about performing, I feel like that is where so many women, no matter what your makeup is, or how you're wired, it is that transactional perform for it, tap dance, do your little dance. And that's why we kind of, fall into that tolerating and settling, because that's what we feel like we deserve.
Right. Yes. I completely agree. And we end up in relationships that can be very one-sided, very off balance, where, we're doing all the heavy lifting and the other person is just kind of skating along.
Yeah. So, Maisie, I'm not a dancer, not a good one. But I feel like relationships can be like a dance, that you can have this dance that you've done for a very long time within a relationship. And suddenly you realize you have worth. You realize that you're giving way more. So when you break that dance, it's going to be awkward for the relationship. So what do you say to that person who says, I want change, I want to receive love, but it's really going to create some awkwardness and maybe even, I don't know, I don't know how to navigate this with those I love. What would you say to her?
Yeah. And how do you even do that?
Yeah.
What's the first step if you're like, oops, I'm in a one-sided relationship?
Yeah.
Yes. I think you bring up such a great point of, once we have this recognition of, oh, wow, I'm in a one-sided relationship. What do I do now? I think that's so true. it changes the dynamic of the relationship. And if you've been doing the waltz with somebody for 17 years and all of a sudden you do the cha-cha, it's going to make things difficult. And that other person probably doesn't want to do the cha-cha. Right. They're really happy doing the waltz.
Right. Right.
Yeah, they've got it good.
Real good. Yeah. So one of the things to kind of answer both of those questions, one of the things that I'll encourage clients to do is to identify where are the areas in your life where you feel resentful and or overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. Those two feelings, feeling resentful and feeling overwhelmed, those two feelings often indicate or point to areas in which we are not asking for help and we're not receiving or feeling loved. And so from there, we can kind of break it down of what am I feeling resentful over? What exactly feels overwhelming? Where do I need to ask for help, but I'm not asking for help, and that's kind of our work to do, our leap of courage of asking for help. And I think I see this particularly in marriages. With friendships, it's a little different, but with marriages, if you do find yourself feeling resentful in the marriage, recognizing, wow, staying in resentment is not going to be good for the marriage. Right. And the way that we move out of resentment is we begin to put up boundaries, boundaries around ourselves, so to speak, to keep us from over functioning. And so to say to the person in your life, I love you and I value our relationship, but I own that I am feeling resentful. And so I want to move out of this place of resentment. And to do that, I'm going to have to step away from some things that I have always done, because every time I do them, I feel resentful. And then I snap at you and then we have an argument and we can't keep living like this. And so I am going to begin to step away from X and Y. And I'm going to let you step in. And if you step in, that is wonderful. And if you don't, okay, but I am stepping back because I don't want to feel resentful anymore. And that is my work to do. And having that conversation, I think where a lot of people can trip up is they can say, well, I feel resentful over the laundry. I'm not doing the laundry anymore. It is your job. We kind of come at it a little aggressive, but it's not taking the posture of I'm out, I'm quitting. It is, gosh, I don't like what this resentment is doing to my soul. It is corrosive to the soul. Mm-hmm. And so I am recognizing where I need to step back and where I need to ask for help. And so I'm going to step out of the over functioning. I think depending on the relationship, we have a conversation like that, or we just let our actions, be our mouthpiece. And so in some relationships, you don't necessarily have the conversation of, I'm going to step back from these things. Here's the reason why. You just begin to say no, or you begin to suggest alternatives. For instance, if you always say, yes, we can go eat at Chili's with coworkers and you hate Chili's, then take the leap of courage and suggest Chick-fil-A.
There you
go. Begin to speak up and use your voice a little bit more. And then that begins to change the dance of the relationship. But the last thing that I would say is to know that as you begin to change the steps of the dance, as you begin to change the dance of the relationship, you might step on each other's toes.
Yeah.
And that is going to feel bumpy and it's going to hurt. Mm-hmm. But the goal is to move out of resentment so that each person is feeling equally loved, so that the love is mutual and reciprocal. And so with love, staying in that place of, I know this is hard and this is different for you. This is hard and this is different for me. Yeah. But I believe this is the path forward to a better connection for us. And that is my goal. Yeah. A better connection is more important to me than the laundry being folded.
Yeah. And I want a rhythm that's not wrapped around resentment.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So since that kind of dance is new and different for a lot of people, especially women, I think an objection that often comes up is this feels selfish because we're so used to doing it differently. So how do we counter that inner objection if it comes up?
Yes, that definitely comes up for a lot of us. And what immediately came to mind when you said that is a Brene Brown quote. I'm a big Brene Brown person. She says that in her research, she found that the most compassionate people were the most boundaried people. The most compassionate people had the best sense of boundaries. And as I read that years ago, and as I have contemplated over the years, I think it's really true. We can engage in the healthiest love when we have the healthiest boundaries, because then I'm serving you. I am caring for you from a place of genuine love, not from a place of duty that's rooted in resentment, not from a place of judgment. You poor thing. And here I am, one up, taking care of you. We are giving and serving from a place of genuine, healthy love and compassion. And we can really only do that when we have boundaries in our life, when we know what is ours to take responsibility for and what is the other person's to take responsibility for, where I end and where you begin, when we are self-aware to know, what can I say yes to in this season of life? And what do I need to say no to? I mean, this is really getting on a tangent, but one of the things I often tell people is we can only have 3 priorities, 3 commitments at any season of life that we can really invest our time in. And beyond that, you're going to drift into overwhelmed stress land. And so, if you identify your 3 for this season as, I'm going to volunteer at my child's school, taking care of my family, and my parents are aging and not well. Those are my 3. And so everything else I have to say no. And so it's not a function of being selfish. It is a function of, I want to love and give from the healthiest, purest place.
So
possible.
good.
Yeah, I love that.
So good.
And what if we've lived this way in our relationship with God? If we've been in performance mode with Him, what is the first step to freedom in that area?
Oh, yes. And I feel like, and sometimes clients will push back, and I'm always like, I don't know. But I feel like so often, if we are performing for love for others, we are absolutely performing for love from God. And it's really recognizing the truth that grace is free, and really beginning to sit in that truth that there is nothing that I can do to earn or lose grace. Am I going to make mistakes? Yes, but that's actually not going to change how God feels about me, His love for me. That doesn't change the fact that Jesus died on the cross for me. My mistakes, yelling at my kids, losing it with my spouse, being rude to the checkout clerk at Publix, that does not change that I am loved and covered by grace. Now, perhaps I need to change some behaviors and make some amends. Yes, and yes, and yes. But really sitting in that truth that there is nothing that can change how much I am loved and how much I am covered in grace, and really beginning to repeat to ourselves, whatever we repeat to ourselves becomes our truth, and repeat to ourselves that when I wake up in the morning and when I go to bed in the evening, my worth and my lovability are the same. When my head hits that pillow at night, regardless of what I did, what I didn't do, what I said, what I didn't say, I am still loved, and I am still covered and carried by grace, and really getting rooted in that truth.
So good. Awesome. Makes me think of that verse, we love because He first loved us,
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, Jennifer and Susie, as we wrap up, any final thoughts or questions?
Well, I'm just excited to hear more about these online courses.
Yeah, I am too. Yes. So Maisie has created several online courses, including one called Let Ourselves Be Loved. So Maisie, will you tell us about those and how people can get connected with them?
Yes, I would love to. Thank you so much. So earlier this year, I created a series of courses called Uncomplicating Love. And that's kind of the big title. And then there are several classes within the course. There is a class on this topic, learning to receive love. There's a class on learning our love story, which very much goes with what we were saying just now of really becoming rooted in the truth that we are loved no matter what. There is a class on learning to love difficult people. We all have somebody who challenges us, who has hurt us, who has disappointed us in our lives. And what does that look like? What does healthy love, what does a healthy relationship with a challenging person in our lives look like? There's another class on how do we live loved when we don't feel loved, when we have had wounds of rejection and abandonment in our life. And we can say, hey, that person that I loved didn't love me back. And so where do I go from there? And so we talk about how to begin to heal those wounds of rejection and live in the truth that we are loved. And then the last class in the course is a very practical class. If you are a 1, 2, 3 person, that is your class. And we talk about practical ways that we can live loved, that we can live in this truth that we are loved and worthy of belonging. And you can purchase the classes individually, or you can purchase them as a bundle of 5. And there's a workbook with questions and journal prompts. And then there are also small group facilitator guides if you wanted to do any or all of the classes with your small group.
That's awesome. Fantastic. And how can they find those?
Yes, you can go to our website, cultivateatlanta.com, and you will see a tab on the right-hand side that says course. And the course, again, is called Uncomplicating Love.
Awesome.
We will also make sure to have that in our show notes to make it easy for people to find. And I would encourage everyone, that is an investment in your relationship with God, with others, yourself. Obviously, Maisie has so much wisdom to share. I feel like we could keep going for hours, but thank you so much for taking time to be with us today. This was really powerful for me personally, and I'm sure it will be for our listeners too.
Thank you,
thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. Thank you.
And that's it for today's episode. Thanks for going deeper, becoming freer, and connecting with us. More Than Small Talk is a part of the KLRC Podcast Network and is produced by Kara Culver. Show notes and resources are available on the More Than Small Talk page on klrc.com. You can also join us in our Facebook group. Subscribe to More Than Small Talk on your favorite app so you won't ever miss an episode.